Hello, everybody. My name is Cesar Reyes, also pronounced Cesar Reyes, and I have Angela Kinney with me here today. I'm going to read her short bio for a moment as an introduction, and then we're going to get into our interview series. Angela Kinney began her federal service with the Library of Congress in 1981. Miss Kinney earned her bachelor's degree in Spanish with a minor in Italian and a concentration in French and linguistics from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. She also holds a master's degree in library science from the Catholic University of America. Since 2004, Ms. Kinney has served as a chief of the Library of Congress for several divisions, including the Social Sciences Cataloging Division, 2004 to 2008, Asian and Middle Eastern Division, acting roles in 2018 and 2019, and the African, Latin American, and Western European Division, 2008 to present. She has 18 years of experience managing personnel who acquire and catalog analog and digital collections, and 14 years of experience as a cataloger. Among many other positions she has held at the Library of Congress, Ms. Kinney also served as Special Assistant to the Director for National Services 2000-2004, during which she managed LC's exhibition service at major conferences in the US and overseas, and held dual roles as the library's public access officer and acting collections policy officer. In 2011-2018, Ms. Kinney executed two successful rotations as vice chair of the library's combined federal campaign. Ms. Kinney holds a certification as a Level 3 contracting officer's representative and is a graduate of the library's Leadership Development Program 2000. She continues to be professionally active outside the Library of Congress, having held positions as chair of 4 committees of the American Library Association. Ms. Kinney, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So as an easy start up, I'm just here to ask you, how are you doing today? How's life treating you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm currently at home teleworking.
Oh yes, that is the new life, isn't it? The telework life.
Absolutely.
Um, well, as we start off here, I wanted to ask, how did you come to be at the Library of Congress?
Well, I was very fortunate. I had a friend who was from my home state, Ohio, and he attended Georgetown University and got a job at Library of Congress. And he said to me, the Library of Congress is hiring. And I said, that's wonderful. And he was very kind to me and helped me to apply to different jobs and helped me with my application, because to apply to the library takes some time
Yeah.
and work. And so I was really, really very fortunate to have him to assist me with that. So I applied to about 20 jobs and ended up getting into the gift shop at the Library of Congress and
Oh,
retail
really?
sales. Yes, that was
Wow.
my very first job. And it was a great job. It was a great stepping stone job, because
Yeah.
that job, the gift shop was in the Thomas Jefferson building and still is. And it was at the entrance to the building, and everyone came through that area. And
Yeah.
so I worked that job, and it was a progression of going from working in retail sales and providing direction to the library's exhibits. That was part of my job. In addition to selling the retail, I had to
Yeah.
guide people because I was an information counter attendant. That was
Mhm.
my title. I had to guide people to the library's collections, to the library's exhibitions, which were in the primarily in the Jefferson building at that time, back in 1981 when I started. But getting to the librarian position was a progression over a number of years. After that position, I saw another position in cataloging. It was preliminary cataloging, and I got that job based on my language skills. I knew Spanish
Mm.
and French and Italian. Those were languages
Wow.
I had studied for many, many years. And so I was able to get the job as a technician, and I worked my way up from technician to um, minimal level cataloger. I did that for many years. Then I became a descriptive cataloger and more or less became a librarian at that time, even before I got my master's in library science. So it was possible to become a professional librarian at the Library of
Really?
Congress without the MLS. But again, I
Wow.
was very fortunate because I had an instance where I interviewed with someone, and the hiring official told me, you really need to get a master's in library science in order to be able to get a librarian position. And I was a
Right.
little disappointed. Obviously I didn't get that job, but I
Yeah.
went to my supervisor at that time and I said, I didn't get this job because I didn't have an MLS. And she said, well, why don't we work on you getting
Getting
an
that
MLS? And so
last.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
I went and class by class. There were
Oh
times when I
boy.
would double up in the summertime,
I feel
and I
that.
did my MLS at Catholic University. It was a wonderful experience to be back in school. And I really enjoyed the research aspects of it and just
Yes.
being back on campus and
Yes.
the whole experience. So I did get my MLS and was finally considered to be a professional librarian. And eventually I did get my professional librarian position and then went on and became a section head and for the Southeast South Asia section, which was a great experience because I was working with languages outside of my knowledge. And so the experience was really good because I learned from my staff. They taught me how to manage people who catalog and acquire, and at that time they were cataloging um, languages and Vietnamese and Urdu and Pashto languages from Southeast and South Asia. So it was a great learning experience at the time.
That's phenomenal. What a journey. Like to go from the foot in the door that you needed to from the gift shop all the way up to a division chief for the Library of Congress. Like
Well,
what a phenomenal journey.
it was after I finished the working with the Southeast South Asia team, I applied to the Leadership Development Program at the Library of Congress, one of the best programs that the library has ever implemented. It gave me the opportunity to get a lot of training, to do a lot of public speaking. It really took this extrovert and made me even more extroverted and involved in my career. And it gave me an opportunity also to learn more about the library, how the library is structured, the most important initiatives at the Library of Congress, to be able to interact with senior level officials at the Library of
Wow.
Congress. So that was a great experience. And then I went on to apply to different jobs as first, while I was in the LDP, I applied to the job that I had as special assistant to the director for national services. And that gave me an opportunity to work with 8 different divisions at the Library of Congress that were connected to that particular area. And then later on, I went into being a division chief. So it's been a great ride. It's been a
I
wonderful
bet.
experience working at the library.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the leadership program? I've heard it in snips and bounds here and there at the library, but it does sound like a phenomenal program. Is it a program that allows people to, I'm assuming, be in some sort of leadership role or practice and so next to leaders at the library? How does that work?
That's exactly it. It's an internship that was created in 1998.
Mhm.
My class was the second class of the LDP.
Whoa.
Yes, and there are at that time there were 10 of us who were selected to be interns, and we were pretty much um, allowed to leave our jobs to be able
Mm.
to go into this internship. And we worked together as a team on different
Wow.
initiatives. At the time when I was an intern, the library was celebrating its bicentennial. And so
Very
we
cool.
worked together on a lot of bicentennial activities, such as marketing the bicentennial coins. That was one of the things that we did. But what we were also allowed to do was we were we spent a week at University of Maryland, and during that time, we had training. We learned about each other. We had like psychological analyses done of the way we actually work as librarians, work with each
Wow.
other, the types of people that we were. We got a lot of feedback on
Very
um,
cool.
on the type of you know work that we do and changes that we needed to make in terms of goal planning. We were able to goal plan for the coming year, 5 years, 10 years into the future. And that
Wow.
experience really galvanized me to think about how I could give back more to the Library of Congress. What could
Mm.
I contribute to the Library of Congress as a whole? We had training in public speaking and presentations, giving presentations in building our technological skills. It's a fabulous program, and it really gives you time to step away from your current job and be able to, as I said before, interact with senior officials, see what their jobs are like,
Yeah.
and to uh, have um, have time away from your regular job to just reflect and ruminate about and plan your
Hmm.
future. I think
Hmm.
that's the value that I took from that program was the opportunity to look at my future, see and analyze exactly how I could give back to the Library of Congress through the talents that and the expertise that I was gaining through that program.
That's phenomenal. And I love the Library of Congress provides that sort of program in order for people to do that. It's like we want to invest in our employees. We want to be able to have them grow wherever that is. And you're able to like literally leave your job to go into something else in order to progress in that way. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. The library also has a career development program. So
Oh,
the LDP
cool.
is for professionals and the career
Okay.
development program is for technicians. And
Cool.
with the same principles in mind that you get training, you get an opportunity to learn more about the library by interacting and getting orientations from senior level officials. And it's an opportunity for technicians to be able to step into another role outside of their
Mm,
regular jobs. It also is a stepping stone because many of these two programs allow one to also be detailed to other divisions and have the opportunity to work in other divisions and be able to either take that expertise back to your home division if you decide to go back to your former job or
yeah.
to apply for other jobs and to move on in your career using those skills that you gained in the programs.
That's phenomenal. Like that really is something special. I have another question here for you. That it might be with your long history at the Library of Congress. So maybe something more recent. But I'm curious about what is something that you've enjoyed at your like the most or found most special at the Library of Congress.
Oh, the thing that I love about the library is that it embraces diversity. Um,
Mm,
uh, Diversity in every way. You can really be yourself at the
mhm,
Library of Congress. It embraces diversity in every aspect of
mhm,
what diversity means. Culture, um, uh, religion, language, any type of background that you may have. I truly believe that the library seeks different kinds of individuals to work at the Library of Congress. And I believe the reason why that we embrace diversity at the library is because we need that diversity to be able to develop the collections, to acquire, to catalog, and to serve the collections for those who
yeah,
come on site to visit the Library of Congress. It's really important that we have people from all different beliefs, orientations, whatever, to be able
mhm,
to come and work at the Library of Congress so that we are able to acquire and and be able to process and be able to serve collections that will show future generations why we lived a certain way, why we thought a certain way. And as the nation's national library, I think that's really important that that we continue to embrace that. So we have at the library, we have people that speak all different kinds of languages. You can, when people are on site, you can see they're wearing their different types of clothing. There's no dress code at the Library of Congress.
Wow.
And so people can come dressed as with their traditional clothing from their country. And I really love that. I loved hearing different languages being spoken in the halls of the Library of Congress. I love seeing people with their different dress, their different cultural, dresses and clothing in the halls of the Library of Congress.
Right.
It's also very family-like. So the average length of service is about 25 years. So people like me stay a long, long time. And I believe that people do that because they love the Library of Congress. They love the mission of the Library of Congress to serve Congress and the American people. They love the fact that they can express themselves, that they can get to know other people as they're working with them. So that's something that I really enjoyed. It's a community in itself, and people get to know each other and do things with each other. When we're operating, in normal operations pre-COVID, we would have lots of cultural programs that were interspersed in our everyday work. And so during lunchtime, you could go and hear well-known speakers speak at the Library of Congress. And it was a wonderful experience to have that. I look forward to us being able to do that again. And we're starting to get back to that period in which the library is opening its doors now that we're back to normal operations, and we're seeing more people come on site to work, and people coming to visit from outside of the Washington, D.C. area. So I'm really happy about that.
That's wonderful. And it's so beautiful to hear about the diversity at Library of Congress. I think like as a culture institute, a knowledge institute as well, like having that diversity is key in order, as you've said, to have a wide breadth of collections in order to really represent the whole of what humanity has to offer. And I think that's wonderful. How else are you going to do that? How else are you going to see all of that and really experience it? So I'm also curious, is that one of the biggest surprises you found at the Library of Congress? What is a big surprise you found working at LOC that maybe you weren't expecting beforehand?
Well, when I first started, I didn't realize how huge the Library of Congress was. I just thought it was the 3 buildings on Capitol Hill, the Jefferson Building, which was built in 1800. It's beautiful. You must come and see it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it has Italian Renaissance style architecture in the Great Hall. It's just, the main reading room is just a treasure. It's one of the most beautiful places to be in the library, is the Jefferson Building. And of course, the John Adams Building, which has the Art Deco architecture, is also very interesting. And then the Madison Building, where a goodly part of the staff work, is just a place just full. It's very vibrant there. But what surprised me was there were different places that the library had as repositories outside of the library. Stepping aside from, at that time, what were 5,000 employees, we have about 3,200 employees, 3,300 employees right now. But at that time, when I first started working, we had about 5,000 employees. So that was very surprising. I had no idea that there were thousands of people who worked at the Library of Congress, and that the library had these repositories outside that where we stored materials and where other staff worked. So that for me was very eye-opening and very intriguing. And that we had 6 field offices that were overseas. That
Whoa.
I came to not only know about those overseas offices, but to travel to one of them. I was very
No
fortunate to
way.
travel to the office in India, New
Very
Delhi,
cool.
India. And when I was working with the Southeast South Asia team, I was able to go there and see the operation in person. It's a huge operation and very efficiently run, very,
I
very
bet,
well run.
yeah.
Lots of employees there.
That's beautiful. And the fact that you're able to travel to see the other operations, I had no clue that there's other operations overseas at all. So that's such a, like, oh, that's so cool. And I have not yet been able to see the buildings yet, the 3 buildings. But I'm looking forward to my visit in DC. I'll be there for the ALA conference, and I'll be there also doing seeing the Jefferson building and hopefully the other buildings as well while I'm there.
Good.
It's going to be an exciting time, I
Well, we have
think.
the, don't forget the open house. We have the LOC
Yes.
open house on June 25th
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
5 to 8 p.m. in the Thomas Jefferson building. So I hope everyone comes to the
Yes.
open house. We are planning lots of activities there, and we'll have and it'll be an opportunity for people not only to see the Thomas Jefferson building, but to also talk to the staff and see
Yeah.
how what it is to be a Library of Congress staff member, what our everyday lives are like as we work in the buildings of the Library of Congress. So I hope it's a good experience for everyone.
I think it will be, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the materials that are going to be displayed. I'm looking forward to like being able to talk to people and really like pick their brains about what is it like to like be a staff member or to be a librarian there as well. What is that experience? Um, so I mean, we had touched earlier, and I'm curious, what is it do you think has changed from pre-COVID to post-COVID um, at the Library of Congress? Before you had said there was all these, events during lunchtime that you could go to. Now here you're teleworking. Has there been a shift that you found being at the Library of Congress at all?
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of the things that we've learned is how resilient we
Mm,
are. That's what we learned from this whole experience of being in a pandemic. Um,
yeah.
and of course, the shift has been that we are now teleworking. We have a combination of
Mm,
telework and on-site work. And what we learned is that our work can be portable. We knew that because my staff teleworked prior to the pandemic.
okay, you
They
prepared.
were, yes, yes. But I think what has now become important is workplace balance, especially with
Mm,
the pandemic. We have a lot of staff members who um, are taking care of elderly family members who have
mhm,
children.
mhm,
When the pandemic started, the um, uh, employees of the library had children that couldn't go to school. They had to be, homeschooled, and that happens off and on depending on how the numbers rise. But I think
right.
what we learned is that we could still operate
Mhm,
even though we were on telework.
mhm,
And we also learned about the importance of workplace balance. You have to
yes,
have that so that those who report to you and you yourself don't go into burnout. You've
yes,
got to
yes.
have that balance and be able to get enough rest, be able to do your work, be able to have time to do your work,
Mhm,
while at the same time balance your family life and your personal life. And I think
mhm.
those are the things that we learned the most. We also learned how important it is to embrace technology. So when
Oh
we went
yeah.
into the pandemic, one of the things that we had to do immediately was to learn how to do digital signatures, because my division works with vendors, international vendors. We do a lot of contracting with international vendors, and in order to pay for the invoices that the vendors send us, we either had to hand sign those invoices
Oh
or
no.
contracts, or to digitally sign them. So we had to embrace different applications like Adobe Acrobat. This was
Gotcha,
something
gotcha.
that many of us didn't use a lot prior to the pandemic. And so we had to train ourselves or be trained in how to use Adobe Acrobat so that we could do digital scans and digital signatures
Right.
and be able to do our work remotely. That was really important because we had to evaluate staff, and we as managers and the staff had to sign off on the evaluations. Having digital signature capability really eased that experience for us. So there were the changes with workplace balance,
Yeah.
being able to understand the importance of when we needed to be on site to
Yeah.
process the collections. That was especially important in my division, where we acquire and catalog materials. When we first went into the pandemic, we had a little, the library closed for about 3 months, and
Really?
then we had to go back to work because
Mm-hmm.
there were collections that were being acquired by our
Mm-hmm.
vendors that were being stored and that had to be processed.
Oh.
There were funds that had to be spent, and collections that had to be brought into the library and cataloged and moved on to binding and collections care.
Yeah.
And so it was really important that we really organize ourselves
Mm.
to be able to get the staff that were needed on site as soon as possible so that
Mm-hmm.
we could get the collections into the library, get the acquisitions portion, um, bills paid and whatnot,
Yeah.
um, things reflected in our integrated library system, and then the cataloging done. Most of our cataloging could be done remotely. And so we
Mm-hmm.
had our staff, our librarians, and our technicians doing our cataloging on telework. But when it came to processing, opening
Mm-hmm.
shipments and being able to get those shipments ready for cataloging, we had to have staff on site. So that was back in 2020 when we reopened in June. Those were the most important things that we wanted to, those initiatives that we wanted to activate right away, is getting the staff that needed to be on site, and also managers as well. It was important for us to be on site so that
Mm-hmm.
the staff could see that we were working with them as well
Yeah.
to support the work that needed to get done. And so we as managers and supervisors and staff members all came back on site and just worked together as teams to be able to get those library collections into the Library of Congress, onto binding and onto collections care. It was a great experience. It really was. It was a very bonding experience to be able to
I
do that.
bet. And I'm sure, like, yeah, the work didn't stop, right? The processing still needed to be done, and it was waiting for you when you came back.
Even during those 3 months that we were
Yep.
off, we were
Yep.
working. We were working, we were meeting, we were
Wow.
planning, we were on email constantly.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the work never stops at the Library of Congress, that's for sure.
So I'm curious, in that shift, I'm assuming generally, what is your day-to-day like at the Library of Congress?
Oh, it's very busy,
I
very
imagine
busy.
so.
Yes, a
Yeah.
lot of balancing of duties. As a division chief, and when I'm on site, there are differences between when I'm on site and when I'm on telework, but some things remain the same. The first
Hmm.
thing that I do is to check my calendar, because my calendar always has
Steps.
is stacked up. It has meetings on it. Typical
Yeah.
day, I usually have between 3 to 5 meetings. That's
Wow.
very typical. That's because I'm very actively involved in my career and with my staff.
Yes.
I want to communicate with them at all times. I want to ensure that communication stays in place, and that I'm communicating well with them. And so I
Yeah.
do meet with them often. I do meet with different colleagues often. This is the way that we get work done as well,
Mhm.
by meeting, and then email. Email is top top of
Everything.
the 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 list of things that have to get done. I usually get anywhere from 100 to 200 email messages a day.
Wow. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
that's very typical for me. And I try to get to them all. If I don't, then I just go back at it the next day,
Yeah.
and targeting, the most important emails I need to respond to
Mhm.
immediately,
Mhm.
um, and and um, and then core work. There's also core work that needs to be done. These are projects that have to be um, uh, worked on and move
Yeah.
forward. My division has a lot of contracts. I usually sign more than 100 contracts a year
I'm
for
so glad.
approval plans,
Oh my gosh.
subscriptions, for the purchase of books, serials, electronic resources, license agreements. There are all kinds of contracts that I'm responsible for signing off on and managing each year. And so a typical day is doing a lot of contracting, managing a lot of
Mhm.
contracting, managing a lot of different projects that are going on within the division.
Yeah.
And of course, delegating responsibility. I have a support staff. I've got a person who's an IT person that works with me, an admin specialist, and 5 supervisors. So I have
Wow.
a very,
Amazing.
very supportive staff, very, very organized staff, a group of staff members who've been working with me since 2008. And we know each other
Wow.
very well. And I think that we work very well together.
That's wonderful. And it must be so important to have a team like that who works so closely together, getting things done, being able to know each other, how people work together as well. It must be like just fluid at this point.
Yes, I think it is, but there are always things that come down the path.
Of
We get a
course.
lot of data calls that come from other parts of the library, and
Sure.
so when you get the data calls, there might be very short deadlines that you have to meet. But
Mm,
this is a part of the work that we do, and we
yeah,
take that in stride. It just
for
makes our work even more exciting than it
there
already
you go.
is.
There you go. You always have to have a little bit of a challenge, right?
That's right.
So as we kind of think about in the next like 3 years or so, how do you think the Library of Congress is going to change or shift, or what it might be focusing on next?
Well, I think the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has really made us think about um, workplace innovations, how our spaces,
Mm.
how can we change our
Oh,
spaces,
yeah,
so
yeah,
we are thinking about, as other institutions are, um, teleworking, of course,
right.
and how teleworking has impacted on our spaces, how we use our spaces better.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is something that the library is thinking about a lot, is um, hoteling, workspace sharing. These are things that other institutions are talking about and, planning for,
Mhm,
um, how to upgrade our spaces, um,
mhm,
uh, the 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 furniture that we have, the areas that we work in, how we
mhm.
can continue to acquire and house the materials that we have. There's a lot of planning in terms of that, how we will um, also um, balance acquiring electronic resources with analog resources. And
Oh,
so the library
yeah.
is really examining how we can transition and what we need to do to
Mhm,
balance the analog with the electronic resources. and how to innovate, how to continue being
Mhm.
innovative, how to use the library's collections to attract members of the public who perhaps can't travel to Washington and come
Mhm.
into our reading rooms and be able to use our reading rooms in person. But also for those who can use the reading rooms, how to we're looking at trying to find out what people are actually looking at on our website, what they're
Mhm.
researching in our reading rooms, so that
Mhm.
we can see what it is that interests people the most
Mhm.
and be able to acquire um, um, electronic and and analog collections based on public need. The public
Yeah.
need. What does the public really need? And what should we be providing to the public? So I think all of those
Mhm.
thoughts are, in in our minds and also in the planning process. What how do we change our workspaces? How do we balance bringing in electronic resources versus analog materials? How do we store those analog materials
Mhm.
so that they can be served to members of the public? And how do we innovate so that we continue to be the vibrant and useful Library of Congress that we are? How can
Mhm.
we draw members of the public into our online catalog, into our reading room so that they are using the collections?
Yes. And I imagine that it's going to be so important to draw more people in, especially post-COVID. I know a lot of places aren't having as much traffic coming in into the building, so it's going to be so important to have those exhibits or collections or digitizing to reach out to people more so they can come back in. You know.
That's
Um,
absolutely right.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, as you may know, I'm getting my MLS currently. I am getting my master's to be a librarian, which I'm going to be graduating in the fall. So, I'm really excited about stepping into this career. And I'm curious if there's any advice in terms of 3 job skills that you think are like the most important, or something to focus on, maybe, or think about as I kind of step into this beautiful wide pool of librarianship.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
your MLS. I
So
wish you
excited.
well. It's
Thank
very
you.
exciting. Do attend
Yeah.
graduation. That's the best
Yeah.
experience
Okay. I will.
possible.
I will.
So do that because you want to throw up that cap in the air
Mhm.
and get that
Yeah.
sense of achievement
Accomplishment.
that you get
Yes.
from that feeling of just
Yes.
tossing
Yes.
that cap in the air. Um, I would say the 3 things that are most important, having been a librarian for so many years, and also as a
Mhm.
manager, and just
Mhm.
having mentored to a lot of younger generation librarians,
Mhm.
because that's one of the things that really I like about being a manager is the opportunity to pass on knowledge to other people. Um, I would say technology
Mhm.
step it up when it comes
Mhm.
to your technological skills,
Okay.
because you need to be able to understand how to use the applications and um, the software programs, the
Mhm.
equipment that
Mhm.
is we use in libraries, and that is changing constantly. And
Mhm.
so make sure you really stay on top of your technological skills. I would say that to any young uh, librarian that is trying to step into this field, that is critically important. You will not be able to function well if you don't have good technological skills. You'll be able to do the job, but to really uh, to be a high achiever, to be an overachiever, if
Mhm.
that's what you want to do, then you need to have good technological skills. And then with any job as a librarian, good analytical and organizational skills are a must. They
Mhm.
are a must. Analytical skills, because whether you're in reference or preservation or cataloging or acquisitions, wherever your library job takes you, your library career takes you, you're going to need to do research. You're already doing it while you're doing your MLS, but you also need to have really good analytical skills. You need to be able to hone those, um, and and practice and study. Continue to study as you, even if you don't go back and get a um, another degree, continue to perform research in every way that you can, whether you're stepping into the library and doing your research in person, or spending time on the internet, or traveling and learning about other cultures and the way other libraries function. Open yourself up to just being analytical, being an analytical person. And then organizational skills. I think it's so important, especially if you decide that you want to go into management and supervisory, the area of supervision. It is critically important that you be organized, and because that is something that if you are, that it will help you to be able to sort out what it is that you need to do as you're delegating as a manager and a supervisor. It's really important to have good organizational skills. And I know those are three things that that library schools are really looking at. I remember taking organization of the book when I was at Catholic University. I remember taking a class in automation that was new at that time when I was in, at Catholic. They didn't have like an IT class. The very first one was taught while I was there in the late 80s. And yes, and so I think those three skills: technology, analytical skills, and being organized are really, really important.
Well, thank you so much for that advice. I'm going to definitely take that to heart. It's something I'm going to definitely focus on as I kind of step into this role as a librarian. And I had just one last question for you. I'm curious if there's anything in the collection right now that has grabbed your attention or interest that you're like, oh, people should definitely check this out.
Well, there's so many things that the library has. I mean, the Rosa Parks exhibit, I think, is just phenomenal. You have to go and see that. My division has spent a lot of time over the past couple of years during the pandemic acquiring electronic resources from Latin America and from Sub-Saharan Africa. We focused a lot of attention on getting newspapers in particular and different serials from Sub-Saharan Africa to be able to open the world to what is happening in particular in West Africa. We have gotten lots of digital newspapers from West Africa that are now available to be seen in what we call Stacks computers that are on site at the Library of Congress in various reading rooms. And so I welcome you to come and see those newspapers. The quality of the scanning, the digitization is just fabulous. The work that is being done overseas is really, really outstanding. And it gives you really a bird's eye view into what's happening in West Africa, the culture, the civilization, the traditions, how they're reacting to the COVID-19 pandemic. All of that we've been able to capture in those newspapers. Same thing for Latin America. We have a wonderful collection of ebooks from South America. and you must see them. They are there are quite a few of them that are on the library's in stacks. And we also have them on the library's public website. So go to the library's public website. You don't necessarily have to come on site to be able to see these ebooks. We've got we've got quite a few from Latin America, and you just visit the library's public website at loc.gov and you can find them there. So I would say our ebooks are very interesting. The highlight of what we're doing right now is really looking at how our public is using those ebooks, what they're looking at, what the needs are of members of Congress and our public, the general public that is coming on site, and also looking at our online catalog where we do our cataloging, and also looking at our public website at loc.gov. So please do visit the Library of Congress on Capitol Hill. Also visit us at loc.gov so that you can see the wonderful collections that we have.
Thank you so much for that. I am definitely looking forward to checking out those collections for sure. And Ms. Kinney, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you and being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been
I
such a
enjoyed
pleasure.
this.